Get yourselves comfortable if you're sitting or lying down. As with any practice, we start by bringing our attention to our experience. And some of the dimensions of our experience include the body, the breath, the energy, the thought stream, the part of us that's witnessing the thought stream and the body and the breath. And that other dimension, the space in the body, the space around the body, the space in which we're watching this arise. And that space of awareness, the unmanifest space that's present altogether with the manifest. So even as you're getting yourself settled and getting comfortable, notice that dimension, so many layers of our experience. We're going to bring ourselves from the top of the head down through the toes very slowly today. As we're going through each part of the body, we're going to integrate everything that we find there, the physical body, any energy or sensation, and do some inquiry as we're going through those parts of the body. So starting with this whole body awareness, head to toe, noticing on an overall level what your body feels like this morning. And that experience varies, of course. Some days there's pain in the body, some days there's tightness or contraction, some days there's ease and relaxation or pleasure. And of course, we always want to be in the body that feels easeful and calm and relaxed. And there's always a reaction to what we find. Sometimes it's resistance, sometimes it's welcoming, sometimes it's fear. Fear that it will stay like this or fear that it won't stay like this. As we start, we just notice the overall environment that we're in. And then bring your attention to the top of your head. Notice the scalp around the top and the back of the head, the sides of the head, and the front, the forehead. Raise your eyebrows up and down a few times and tune into the muscles in the forehead and the scalp. Allow the forehead to completely relax. If the eyebrows are kind of knitted together, if there's some kind of worry going on, allow that to relax as much as it seems like it's okay to do that right now. So there's nothing we can do to force a muscle to relax. Oftentimes, when we bring our attention to a muscle, it will automatically soften. And then bring your attention back a little bit into the bone. It's just behind the skin on the forehead. And inside into that area between the back of the skull and the front of the skull, the sides of the skull. And in behind the forehead, notice your experience there. Notice the experience of watching thought arise. Notice it as a process if you can. A thought thought comes in, it just kind of arrives and we notice it. It's words or images or both. Sometimes it generates a stream of thought, other times there's one thought and then it just stops and there's a little gap and then we wait there for another one. And notice your response to what you're noticing. If there's a stream of thought, or if there's a bit of compulsiveness to a thought, or if there's anxiety or any kind of negative feel to the thought, notice what else happens with the thought. There might be another thought that comes along as a reaction to the first thought. There's often sensation or energy somewhere in the body that's triggered by thought. And notice if there's a welcoming or an acceptance that's possible. So whatever the experience is in this moment, in that area behind the forehead, notice if you're able to be present with it without wanting it to change. And this is part of us. This is part of how we experience the world. And see if it's possible to accept whatever it is that's arising, however it is arising, whatever the process is going on there in the thought layer. Notice if it's possible to at least accept it, possibly even welcome it. And this can be particularly interesting if it's a thought stream that feels troubled or compulsive or anxious. And notice that it's being observed. There's another layer of the mind that's watching the thought stream layer of the mind. And then let's let go of that close attention to the thought stream in that part of the body, in the area just behind the forehead. And drop our attention a little bit lower into the eyes. Notice the muscles around the eyelids and the corners of the eyes, the deep muscles of the eyes. Notice if there's images, if the sense of sight seems to be more at rest right now. Notice if there's any feeling like you're okay with what's happening, or if there's a feeling like it would be better if it was something different. Images, the sight, are closely related to thought, of course. Thoughts showing up in words or images. And then down just a little bit, there's the breathing that's happening through the nose. Notice the air flowing in through the nose, the coolness of the inhale, the warmth of the exhale. And notice as well the pattern and rhythm of the breath. You may have heard the breath ideally is slow and even. The exhale and inhale are about the same length without any significant pauses or breaks in the breath. Ideally, we have a 6-second exhalation in order to allow the relaxation response to engage in our system. And notice if your breath is anything other than that right now, if that's okay with you. Notice if there can be an acceptance of whatever is happening with your breath. And also there can be acceptance and intention. They're not mutually exclusive, so there could be an intention to relax your body so that your body can breathe more deeply, more fully. To focus your attention on the end of the out-breath so that you can move smoothly into the in-breath. Smoothly from the in-breath, being willing to let go into the exhale. And then noticing where you can feel the breath. How long can you feel the in-breath? As it comes in through your nostrils and it flows over the membranes of the nose. It kind of comes down through the back of the mouth, through to the throat. At some point we lose track of the breath. The breath becomes warm enough that we can't feel that contrast anymore. Notice how different it is to be noticing the out-breath compared to the in-breath. The out-breath is already warm. It's much later in the process that we can notice it. It's even a little bit difficult to notice it in the nostrils as we're exhaling. Bringing our attention back for a moment to the space all around the body. There's an air exchange happening in the space right in front of the nose. At the base of the nostrils, where the nostrils meet the upper lip, there's some movement in the air there. And there's the experience of your whole body from head to toes. And then come down a little bit more to the ears, noticing any sounds that are coming through your ears into your brain. There's the sound of my voice, and there's quite possibly other sounds in the room or outside your room. Our experience with sound changes all the time. Some sounds are welcome, some sounds are agitating, some sounds trigger other thought. A motorcycle in spring can trigger thoughts of the open road with the wind blowing over our skin, or it can trigger thoughts of gangs and violence. So our experience with sound is very much related to what thoughts we have about it, whether we're welcoming of that particular sound or not. Some sounds create a response in the body that feels contracting. Some sounds like a beautiful piece of music that you enjoy, that you might even be able to hear right now in your imagination and thought. Create a softness, a relaxation right from head to toe. Other music might be nostalgic and bring back memories of other times. And notice if there's anything about your experience of noticing sound that you would like to change, or that you would like the sounds coming in to be different somehow. Notice if there's any feeling of threat. And being aware that you're noticing this process. There's a witnessing that's happening, and there's a space in which all this is arising. We're still working in the area of the head. There's also the whole of the body, the space all around the body, and that more subtle space of awareness. Bringing your attention down. Notice the hinges of the jaw, the mouth. Notice if there's clenching going on, if your upper jaw and lower jaw are tight together. If you could put a bit of space in between the upper and lower jaw. Relax your tongue and your mouth, the lips. Notice the moisture. Let your sense of speech relax, soften through the whole vocal cords, that whole area. And notice the energy of this part of your face. There's the hinges of the jaw at the sides. There's your mouth. And notice what's present energetically through the jaw and the hinges of the jaw, and also a little bit higher going up into the other part of the head. So right from the scalp, the crown of the head. Notice any energy or sensation that's present along with the physical and the thought process and the breathing. Notice if there's energy or sensation that's also present. And then noticing your response to that. One of the ways that we experience life as a human being is that we have responses to what's happening. So it's not like we're doing something wrong to have a response. There's the event, and then there's the response. The response can come in the form of a nervous system reaction. If something feels not safe, for instance, a lot of that part of the response is autonomic. We don't control it with the conscious level of the mind. It just happens. A lot of it is thought. The brain likes to make meaning of everything. And we have energy or sensations that are triggered by what is happening, as well as how we're interpreting what is happening. Noticing that whole area of your head, the thoughts, the muscles, the energy, the breath, the jaw. Notice your experience, and notice if there's anything about your experience that's unacceptable. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. If there is a feeling that something should be different, then notice how it is that you know that. Is it thought? Is it sensation? Is it some part of your body that's contracted? And then bring your attention into your neck as well. Notice that sensation of breath. And also notice the muscles around the back of the neck and the sides. Notice that vulnerable throat area. And keeping a little bit of attention on the head, mostly shift the focus now to the neck and the throat. Very common for there to be tightness and contraction through the muscles at the back and the sides of the neck. Also very common for there to be energy or sensation protecting us through the back of the body. Notice your experience in this moment with your neck, the inside space of the neck as well, between the throat and the sides and the back of the neck. There's that inner space. Coming down a little bit further into the muscles of the back of the body, those large muscles of the back, between the shoulder blades, which is behind the heart center. Notice the physical body in this area. There might be relaxation through those muscles. There could be contraction. There could be a number of experiences in the physical body at the back of our neck, shoulders, in between the shoulder blades. And whatever it is that you're observing, notice if it feels like there's anything that needs to change, anything that's not acceptable. See if it's possible to allow everything that's there to be there. Perhaps even to welcome it. And if that seems like too extreme, is it possible to accept it? This is what's happening in that part of my body in this moment. Notice this continual thinking process. Thoughts always arrive to let us know what we think about what's happening. Could be words or images. There also could be sensation that is triggered in another part of the body. Then move your attention around to the sides of the rib cage and the front of the rib cage. On a physical level, we can also notice the body's moving with the breath. Notice where that movement is happening, if it's towards the top of the rib cage, if it's lower down. Take a few deep breaths as well, and as you breathe in, notice if you can feel the lower ribs expand, a bit of space open up between them. And notice how everything relaxes a bit as we exhale. Sometimes it relaxes a lot, sometimes a bit. Again, notice the rhythm and the pace of the breath, which might be quite different now than it was when we were looking at that pattern of breathing in the nose. Be attentive to the response to your experience. If it feels like it's okay to have the experience that you're having right now, and if it doesn't feel okay, that's what our experience is that we're noticing it doesn't feel okay. Notice if it feels like that's okay to have that experience of resistance right now. And then include any sensation or energy in the area protected by the rib cage. The heart center, the whole of the chest area. Is there any energy or sensation around the front of the chest? In the heart center? And whatever is arising in this area, is that okay with you? Or should something be different than it is? And then bringing your attention now down into the stomach area, the area between the diaphragm muscle at the lower ribs and the pelvic floor, between the muscles at the front of the stomach area, the abdominals, the muscles that attach to the spine itself. And notice that the body can still be felt breathing in this part of the body. As the diaphragm flattens, the lungs fill with air and the stomach expands a bit. And notice what energy is present here. And as you're noticing that, notice if it's okay with you that whatever is happening here is what's going on. There are often images of sensation that might be here as well. So focus your attention very closely for a moment on the area in the middle of the torso, the solar plexus, the stomach, the lower belly. There might be a sensation of digestion going on, a fullness in the stomach, an emptiness, growling of the intestines. There could be inflammation and pain. There could be all kinds of sensations present that are physical. They have to do with the stomach or the intestines, maybe with the muscles. And there are also sensations, energy that are in that space where your body is. They're in this space between the front and the back, abdominal walls, the side, the diaphragm to the pelvic floor. And they're not really caused by something that's going on in that area, in the muscles or the tissues or organs. They're more of an energetic experience. So notice what happens in this part of your body and notice how your mind interprets it. And notice if it's okay with you what's happening there. And if there's something about tuning into this part of the body that feels a bit like you're uncomfortable or you're not too sure it's going to be okay, then notice that, and that's fine too. We don't need to ever be aggressive or pushy with ourselves. If there's a reluctance, then honor that reluctance and don't focus so closely there. Notice if the mind is coming in with some kind of pronouncement around what's acceptable or what's not. And notice if that's even okay. And then extend your awareness, your attention to your whole body, knowing that you can always come back and do this close looking. You can do it on the fly. If you're out in the world somewhere and you stop for a moment, turn your attention inward, notice what your experience is. We can do it as a practice. A simple process of noticing the experience in the body, the breath, the energy, the thought layer, and noticing our response to the experience. Notice if there's a feeling of something should change. There's something wrong, either with what's happening or with me, because it's happening. And then we pay attention to that. Being aware again of your whole body from head to toes, of the space that your body is occupying, of the energy and sensation in that space. Of your response to your experience. To the part of you that's noticing and observing, that witnessing that's happening. And to the space of awareness in which all of this is unfolding and being noticed. Becoming attentive to outside sounds, opening your eyes, noticing what's coming in through your visual field now. Notice if it's possible to be with your experience just as it is. Setting an intention that throughout the day you'll dip back into this, periodically noticing that this always changes, our experiences always change, and so do our responses to them.